And welcome to Burnsville Park and Natural Resource Commission meeting for March 19, 2018. The first item for business is to approve our agenda for this evening. Commissioners, any item to add to the agenda? Seeing none. Staff, any items to add to today's agenda?
Nothing from staff.
Okay. Commissioner would like to have a motion to approve today's agenda.
Motion approved?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And motion moves. Thank you. Next item is citizens' comments. Seeing none, we are going to move to our third item on approval of minutes from February 5th, 2018 meeting. Commissioners, any revision to the meeting minutes of February 5th, which we have in our package? Hearing none. Staff, any revision for the minutes?
Nothing from staff.
Commissioner would like to have a motion to approve the minutes of meeting for February 5th, 2018.
Motion approved?
Second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Motion moves. The fourth item for today's meeting is review for Red Oak Park Tennis Court Reconstruction Project. And presenting is Assistant Public Director, Work Director, Jeff Reddick. Jeff, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
Chair, Commissioners, as introduced, Jeff Raddick, Assistant Public Works Director. I usually take over the parks projects that involve reconstruction and parks maintenance operations. So we're here to review Red Oak Park Tennis Court Reconstruction Project. Red Oak Park is one of 20 community parks located in the northeast area of the city. It's 36 acres, has good access along Kennelly and River Hills Drive. Contains many general and special recreational uses and acts as a local neighborhood park as well. This is pretty indicative of all community parks. Red Oak Park in particular, recreational uses does have the disc golf course in the southwest corner of the park. Contains soccer fields, youth baseball and softball, hockey and free skating with staffed warming house in the winter, playground, basketball court, several trails, both for access to the recreational facilities in the park and also as a recreational interest in themselves. And the tennis courts. Most of Red Oak Park was developed with the 1982 Parks Bond work. I think this was about second phase, so actually into the probably mid-80s when it was constructed. Most of the items within the park have been rehabilitated or replaced already. The tennis court has been resurfaced at least once that we know of. I would say we didn't get great life out of the rehab of the tennis court last time we did it. And it is in need of attention again. Last time we just addressed the bituminous itself. We didn't address any other elements associated with the tennis courts. I did try to take some pictures. They're not very clear, but what we're dealing with, you can see there the fences are not square anymore. The foundations are heaving. The bituminous is pretty much covered up at this time, but you can kind of see in the bottom right corner. Previous repairs are not holding together. The trail going into the neighborhood is as bad or worse condition than the tennis courts themselves. And the lighting is mid-1980s. It is that lighting where it's designed to develop surface rust, and that kind of protects it, but the surface rust has gone beyond being just surface rust. So So we did analysis. It's quad court design. We know inherently low use due to the condition and also due to other good opportunities within the city. If you're gonna drive to a community park to do tennis, you have the option of Neal Park where there's 6 and they're in very good condition, or you have the option of driving over here in North River Hills. So it doesn't see a lot of use. I'd say it's other community parks get greater use for their tennis courts. So we were looking at that, knowing we had to address the tennis court. So typically in a situation like this, we'd probably look at cutting down the tennis courts to probably 2 or something like that. But there's also the pickleball opportunity out here that was brought up in the Parks and Rec master plan. So we'd been dealing with this while the Parks and Rec master plan was being written. So the two don't jive perfectly with each other, but we've been working on them simultaneously. So when we did come up with the pickleball idea, JJ's staff did send out a neighborhood mailing to see what the interest of the neighborhood was within the tennis court itself and the ability to change it into pickleball. At that time, we didn't receive any comment from the neighborhood. We've gotten several comments from the pickleball community of interest in the project and what could become. So really we started on so with that we budgeted and we've started on design with the city council's approval to start to get going on the project. So preliminary project planning, we came with the idea of we would like to maintain some tennis for the neighborhood park ability of this park. Some tennis as an element of neighborhood parks and explore pickleball opportunities. So this is the design preliminary design we've come up with. 6 pickleball courts replacing 2 tennis courts, 1 full tennis court, and 1 combination court. So it's a tennis court with 2 pickleball courts overlaid on it. There is a concern of noise with pickleball. Pickleball is known to be noisier than tennis. The research you do, it appears to be in the mid 60 decibels, which is during the daytime hours probably at a disturbing level. Definitely not at a health or anything like the EPA would get concerned with about. But it is a concern that we did have when exploring this. And we've come up with a couple of mitigating design elements that can help with the noise. Really, you looked at the tennis court here, and where do we most have to be concerned? We most have to be concerned with the neighbors immediately to the east. Or sorry, to the west, sorry. So noise mitigation design elements, we have moved the pickleball to the easterly side of the tennis court. At one time we had it drawn the other way where pickleball would be immediately adjacent to the neighborhood. So we have flip design, orientation, terrain, there is good tree cover available to protect from pickleball noise. There is also just north of the youth backstop, there's also a large spoil pile or hill from when the park was developed that also creates a really good noise buffer for those houses in that direction. And we're looking at large coniferous trees to help block with the noise and a noise blocking fence. So we've gotten to a little bit of detailed design just to give you guys an idea of what's in there, so you can kind of what we're already thinking and what you guys would like to comment on or add additional items. So it is already 10-foot high chain link fence around. We're gonna replace it in kind with a maintenance strip. We're gonna do a 4-foot fence in between the pickleball courts. Quite often, if the ball's overrun, it's usually end to end. So, and not to disturb, other pickleball plays in the adjacent court, chain link fence to separate those two. Backboards for solo tennis and also for pickleball. That is a pretty common element. Something we get a lot of comments about that they'd like to see. And here's a little more close-up detail of the sound blocking material on the chain link fence. We're gonna add that just on the west side to begin with. If we do get more comments, there's possibility of adding it other places as well. And 4 new gates. Currently there's 2 gates. We'll increase that to 4 gates. Other future items, we're looking into benches, room for future informal seating. If this becomes really popular, something like bleachers or concrete pads for picnic tables among those items. So, lighting, as I said, the lights are rusting, and we're gonna change those out with LED. And we're also looking at spading large trees for shade and also for sound attenuation. Garrett and I have both visited Apple Valley courts, and we came to the conclusion this proposal is probably a lot different than the Apple Valley situation where they're running into sound complaints, but we decided we'd mitigate as much as possible within the design. So, if based on your comments, we look at early May awarding the project. So you guys give us comments, we'd finish up the design within a month here, get it back to city council for approval to go out for bids, get the bids in May, start construction in late May, hopefully finishing in July. Some of the items like turf restoration and tree planting may have to go in the fall depending on the temperature of the summer that we run into. So that's really what I got. I'm open for comments, insights you may have.
Commissioners?
Well, so are you gonna completely tear down the existing structure and build it up again from scratch?
Yes, we'd be taking everything down to about 2 feet below grade and rebuilding it back up. We did geotechnical investigation, and we've learned why the previous rehab didn't survive well was because it is built on a clay base. So we'll be taking that all out.
That would have been my next question, what the subsoil looked like.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
So what's the construction impacts gonna be for the rest of the park when you're constructing the new pickleball courts?
We'd likely close off just the north portion of the park, running just probably on the north half of the playground, north half of the basketball court, and then over towards the neighborhood.
So are you gonna plan on keeping that berm that's right there? I mean, there's that hill in between like the playground and then the pickleball courts, or where the tennis courts are now. Is that grade gonna stay the same, or are you anticipating bringing that down to put the tree cover in?
Nope, we're gonna anticipate leaving the grade relatively the same.
Cool.
Any other questions? I have a question. Can you, did I miss anybody? Thank you. Can you go back to the higher picture where?
This
Yeah,
one?
here. So if you are taking this down and versus moving the cords from here because of the noise thing, back into the other side where it's Riverhead Drive South,
Yeah.
will that be an option? Because down here, I don't see that many houses, and on the back, there is more road versus on where that is located right now, there are housing.
You'd get soccer balls. So that part of the fields are highly
Or
utilized
soccer balls.
soccer
Yeah,
fields right
soccer
there.
down here.
Okay,
And there's people there like
okay.
at
No,
least 8 hours a day, and
Okay.
most days in the summer.
What about behind that? Behind the soccer balls?
Most of it is the disc golf course.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, if there's any opportunity to put a cement pad for picnic tables in this park, there's the picnic shelter, and then there's the one by the park. But there's really not much else outside of that. I mean, it seems like a great opportunity, but I totally understand if it's not part of the original design.
Well, we look at picnic tables and stuff like that. We look at our own crews can do that kind of stuff. So that's probably why we don't put them in the plans.
Oh, the bed.
Sure.
Yeah, benches, picnic tables, stuff like that, our crews can handle. That's pretty much why we don't
Yeah.
go down to that level of detail.
And question.
Go ahead.
So all these benches and other things that we're talking about, it's not part of the first phase? Or is it?
No, well, yeah, they'll be doing it at the same time,
So it's
so, yeah.
part of the, whatever the budget is, it's part of that?
It's not part of the city council's project budget, no, but it'll be part of parks operations that we will add those items, so.
Okay. And thank you for putting the board. I think it's, for me, it's one of the important things in the self-board where people come in and then play
Yep.
by itself, so it's important. Some of the places we have it and some other places we don't.
Yeah, it
That's-
is one thing we do get asked about quite a bit.
Yes, I think I play sometimes, but it's important when you go in there, you don't have anybody else, you can play with the board, so it's important. Okay, I don't,
Chair Raouf and Commissioners, I'd like to point out back in February when Maroof was presenting our work plan to City Council, he was given some specific information on, about keeping tennis courts in play at this location. There was some concern that the pickleball courts we would end up with just pickleball courts. I'd like to just point out again
Thank you.
the fact that this design allows for 2 tennis courts to still remain at the location, and at a location where we haven't seen a large amount of tennis play over the last few years. So
Okay.
I think this design currently meets the needs of both tennis players and our pickleball need as well.
thank you, JJ, I appreciate it, thank you. I totally forgot about that comment. So question, hopefully it'll be my last question is, if we have an ability to use the courts in a way like number second that you're doing, which is a tennis court and a pickleball court, why don't we decide to do all of them like that, so it can be multi-used?
So that combination court there, you have either choice, you do tennis ball nets or you do pickleball nets. So a combination court, you kind of have to decide what you're gonna do. This one, we're gonna use the tennis court nets, and we'll use portable pickleball, nets. Quite often, some of the players have their own, or otherwise Recreation is looking into allowing those, or having those available.
Okay. Good point, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, so we were just looking, for this thing, we are just looking for recommendation, questions, comments.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else we want to add? If not, thank you very much, Jeff, for coming over and giving us an opportunity to look at this. That will move us to our fifth item on the agenda, which is miscellaneous. Commissioner, any items that you want to add into the miscellaneous? Hearing none. Staff, any miscellaneous item to report?
Commissioners, we are moving back the April meeting to April 23rd. That's a little bit later than normal. We have a Rose Bluff Trail final design that needs a little bit more time. And then at that time, I'll also be presenting some information on the survey of the work plan, the frameworks plan from the recent Park and Recreation Master Plan. So we just need a little bit more time to gather that information. And then following that, that meeting in this room, we'll have a work session to discuss plans for how this commission is going to work with the I Love Burnsville Week. And we've got a pretty good idea that we think you'll enjoy, that we think you'll wrap your hands around and want to get involved with, so.
That's good. Thank you, JJ. Appreciate it. That brings us to the end of our formal meeting of this evening's agenda. Commissioner, would you like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion moves. Good evening, and thank you for watching Burnsville Park and Natural Resource Commission meeting.